It doesn't matter if you just bought your first stereo or you are still using the stereo you bought 40 years ago. In 2025, there are some incredible accessories that can either improve your sound, keep your equipment and your music collection working and sounding good. Some of them are just for fun. I've got picks for everybody on every budget. Some of these are dirt cheap, a couple of them are free. Let's look at my picks for the best accessories in 2025. This is not a sponsored video. I purchased every single one of these products with my own money, but we will have links to every product down in the description. Some of them are affiliate links. If you click on them, we do get a small commission. Great way to support the channel. You're still going to get the best price available. Another big problem solver for the vintage people out there like myself. You might have a vintage stereo. You want better sound than what comes out of your TV. You don't want to buy a 5.1 surround sound system from Best Buy. This device fixes that. So this is a remote controlled DAC that essentially lets you bring your digital audio out of your TV, Blu-ray player, DVD player, and then come out of this box with your analog RCAs that your vintage stereo is happy to play back. And you get a volume control. Perfect. So don't buy a crappy sounding soundbar when you've got your vintage stereo system sitting right below it. This little $24, $25 box fixes that perfect. Done. And I think out of every product we ever showed on our channel, nothing got more positive feedback, people saying they loved this product, than the Fair Rule crimpers. For 22 bucks, you get the crimpers and you get 1800 fittings, allowing you to use a heavier gauge speaker cable and a vintage receiver. It essentially just makes it into a thin barrel, cramps all those wires together so you can get them into your JBLs, those spring-loaded terminals on the back of your favorite Pioneer and Marantz. This makes it easy and a really safe connection for heavy gauge wire. We got a lot of feedback from the people that bought them last time and they loved them. So do I. They're great. Speaker stands. One of the biggest improvements I think you can make with your stereo system is simply getting your speakers off the floor. The goal with the speaker stand is to get that tweeter to ear height when you're in your listening position. You don't want the tweeter shooting over your head or right at your knee. Both of those are bad. Your speakers just aren't going to sound good. The other benefit is if you're on the second floor, maybe you've got a basement below you, you're decoupling that speaker from the floor. Less chance for vibration to transfer from that speaker down to the floor and then just amplify a bunch of bass frequencies, and it's going to muck and muddy everything up. There are a lot of options out there to buy speaker stands. Amazon, Crutchfield, you can buy them from us. Solid Steel in Italy is making some really nice designer stands for those that want to splurge a little bit. I've had points in my life where milk crates are holding my speakers up, and a lot of times you might find that might just be it for you. That's all you need. If aesthetics aren't important, grab some milk crates, set them on top, see if it makes a difference, see if it sounds better. This is another product that we got a lot of really positive feedback from in a previous video. Have you ever thought, I'd really like to get a vintage receiver or a vintage amplifier, but I'm not ready to give up my remote control. I need my lazy stick. I want to sit in my couch and turn the volume up or down on my stereo system and not have to relive the 70s and 80s getting up and down every time I need to control the volume. That's where this little guy comes into play. These things are awesome. Hook it up to your receiver amplifier, grab the remote, and then you've got a remote control for your vintage stereo. You can either bring one source into it, tape loop, pre-in, main out, got a little remote control, sit back on the couch, control the volume. Perfect. Under 50 bucks. And for anybody out there like myself that has way too much stereo equipment, too many speakers, too many amplifiers and receivers, and you like A/Bing equipment, these are fun in a box. These are VU meter AB switches, allowing you to essentially hook up 2 amplifiers and receivers, 2 sets of speakers. You push a button and it switches from amplifiers, switches from speakers, and you can truly do an A/B test in your home, see which one you like better. Plus you get the benefit of sitting back and looking at big bouncing meters. Everybody loves that. And for those of you out there that will say, well, it's going to degrade the sound, I don't want it in my signal path. The Duwak VU Pro actually has a built-in microphone, so you don't have to hook it up at all. Simply set it next to your stereo and let that microphone pick up the audio in the room and give you a really loose idea about how much power you're actually pumping to your speakers. It's not science. It's not data. It's just fun. If you're like me, you like knowing that at the end of the record, the tone arm is going to lift from the record. You don't have to sprint across the living room like your house is on fire in order to avoid extra wear and tear on your stylus and that expensive cartridge you put on your turntable. And these risers fix that problem. These are an add-on product. When the tone arm reaches the trigger, it lifts the tone arm. Perfect. These lifters are a great alternative solution to having a riser mechanism built into your turntable from the factory that could have issues down the road. Before you run out and grab one of these tone arm risers, head over to the QUp website, check their compatibility chart, and make sure one of these will fit on your turntable. I am not going to get on here and tell you to buy expensive cables, whether they're speaker cables or audio cables. Only you know your budget and only you can make the decision of whether or not you're going to hear an improvement. A lot of times it's not all about sound improvement. Bad cables, old cables, damaged cables can get you in trouble. That can land you in a repair shop trying to find somebody to fix your amplifier, your turntable, and it could all come down to a bad wire. My only advice is that if you're still using the cables that your component came with, or they're over 20, 30 years old, get rid of them. There are a lot of really good, inexpensive cables available. Even the Amazon basics are better than the ones that come in the box most of the time. And I know people are still using their original cables that are almost 50 years old because a lot of times they come into the shop with their equipment and they're still hooked up because they don't want to unhook them and forget how they had it hooked up before. And after all these years with the corrosion, the cables getting bent, possibly shorting out, you might be chasing your tail thinking it's your amplifier or your turntable, and the whole time it's really just an audio cable. Personally, I don't think you need to spend a crazy amount of money on audio and speaker cables, but that's up to you. Just get something decent. And get rid of these old brown cables from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That way at least you know if you're having dropouts or static or distortion, it's not a cable that would cost you 10 or 20 bucks to replace. I know it sounds boring, but it is so important, especially for turntables. You have no idea how many emails and phone calls over the years people have brought their turntable in and said, there's something wrong with this. My speakers just sit there and rumble. It's skipping the stylus when I play records, and most likely that comes down to you needing just a little bit more isolation. And this does not have to be expensive. Actually, when somebody says this to me, what I recommend is folding up a big towel, setting your turntable on top of it. If the problem goes away, you know you need more isolation. It's that simple. If that is the problem, you can get on Amazon. There are silicone-based isolation pads for under 20 bucks. And ISO Acoustics is a manufacturer that's what they do. They make isolation products for speakers, amplifiers, subwoofers, turntables. And while I was kind of a skeptic about it at first, like I usually am with any audiophile products, last year when we went to Expona, I got to see these demonstrated with 2 sets of speakers, and I was so impressed with that demonstration. I told everybody I talked to that day how good they were, how much of a difference it made. Isolation is huge. I'm a believer. I'm converted. I don't have isolation pucks under everything like I know some people do, but to me, where it matters with the turntable, the speakers, and the subwoofer, I absolutely do, because it does make a difference, no question. Have you ever been rocking out to your stereo system with 4 speakers hooked up at the same time and all of a sudden you hear a click, or even worse? That's where these come in. A lot of our customers have damaged their amplifiers or receivers, or possibly even destroyed them because the ohms on their speakers was just dropping too low for their amplifier to handle, and they cooked it. And a lot of times when we suggest running multiple sets of speakers in series to avoid this, they get that glazed look over their face like, this isn't making sense. And that's where I usually suggest one of these boxes. They're inexpensive. Yes, they're kind of cheaply made, but they get the job done. You can buy them in all kinds of configurations for 2 sets of speakers, 4 sets of speakers, 8 sets of speakers. It just depends on how many you want to hook up. As long as they have a protection switch on the front, as long as you remember to engage that, I just don't take it off, you're going to be fine. This has got some big monster resistors on the inside that's going to make sure you don't cook your amplifier. So if you're wanting to hook up multiple sets of speakers, you don't know how many ohms they are, you're scared it's going to hurt your amplifier or receiver, grab one of these speaker selectors that's plug and play, it's easy mode, no crazy wiring, don't need to scratch your head or carry the one, plug it in, use it, hit the protection button, you're golden. And I said I've got a couple free ones for you, and I wasn't kidding. There are actually apps on your phone, doesn't matter if it's iOS or Android, that can tell you how fast your turntable platter is turning and how many SPLs you are getting in your room, how loud your stereo is. And they're actually both pretty good. They're pretty accurate. There's only one trick to the Turntable RPM app. You just want to grab yourself a couple 45 RPM record adapters, set them on top of each other, place the phone directly in the middle of the turntable, and let it do its thing. We've got strobe discs, we've got all kinds of other stuff, and we don't use them because these things are pretty accurate. They're accurate enough. And with the free SPL meter, it's nice to know how loud are you listening to your music. Whether it's for bragging rights, or you just want to see how hard you can drive your stereo distortion free, it's a free app. It's fun. We all know hearing damage is real. I don't think we need a disclaimer. Just be safe. Every week here at the shop, we are recommending products to people that have been in the hobby for a long time. And one of my favorite things to have happen is have a customer walk in that did not want to get a subwoofer, hated the idea of having a subwoofer, and have them say, I cannot believe how good my stereo sounds after adding a subwoofer. I mean, for a lot of people, this is a really hard line in the sand. I don't need a subwoofer. I don't like bass. And I don't know if they're under the impression that if you add a subwoofer, all of a sudden your house is just going to be booming with bass. Like, it's going to be so out of control, so unmanageable that it'll just be unlistenable. And that is not what we're going for with adding a subwoofer. All we're doing is adding a little bit of low end. You can decide on the back how much you want to add. The other thing too is you don't need to spend a lot of money. I actually have a Rockville subwoofer. I think I paid like 80 bucks for it 5 or 6 years ago, and it's still working today. I've got it underneath my computer desk chair just to add a little bit of bass because the small speakers on my computer just don't produce any at all. But the point is, you don't have to spend a lot of money. And if you don't like it, you can return it. And if you're unsure how to hook up a subwoofer, watch that video right there. Another great accessory I think a lot of people are missing out on are modern headphones. If you haven't tried a newer pair of headphones in a while, maybe you've still got your old COS, your old AKGs. Headphone technology has really come a long ways. And while I'm not the biggest fan of headphones, sometimes I need to use them. I'm on an airplane or I'm in a chaotic room, and that's when I'm really glad I have a set of headphones. And before you just jump on and grab a set of headphones, I think there are 3 things you want to look at. Do you want wired? Do you want wireless? Do you want them to be open back or closed back? And they all have pros and cons, just like everything else out there. With open back headphones, I think it gets you as close to listening to an actual stereo as you can get. It doesn't sound closed off like the music is in your ears. It is there is a little bit of atmosphere with open back headphones. The only issue with it is if you're on the couch with your wife or somebody else, or you're in an airplane and you're really wanting to crank it up, they're going to hear it and they're not going to be happy about it. And then with closed back headphones, it's nice that not everybody's listening to the same music you are. You can crank them up on a quiet plane, or if your wife's sitting next to you on the couch, they might not sound as open and spacious as the open back headphones, but that's a trade-off. That's just the way it works. And then with wireless, obviously you get the advantage of not being tethered, not having a cable. You can kind of walk around the room a little bit. Maybe you've got a Bluetooth turntable and you don't have to have any wires connecting you to it. And really the biggest negatives for wireless headphones, you got potential for dropouts, maybe not as good at sound quality. And then the biggest problem for me, if I'm watching video, a lot of times there's a little bit of mouth lag. It almost makes me feel like I'm watching a dubbed movie.
Ooh, Godzilla is roasting King Kong.
I can hear and see them saying it, but the mouth isn't in sync with what's in my ear. And depending on how much lag, it can really bug you. It bugs me, drives me crazy actually. Record care is absolutely exploding in 2025. These are all a must-have if you're planning on building a vinyl collection. If you want them to sound good, you want to keep your stylus in good shape, you need to be on your cleaning game, and there are a ton of products to help you do it. Everything from the spray and wipe type cleaners, spin cleaners where you put the record in a bath, give it a spin. You also have carbon fiber brushes that help with static. It's part of my ritual. Every time I put a record on, I just grab the carbon fiber brush and I hold it on the record while it spins for a second. Good to go. Especially in Iowa, dry climates where static is an issue, these are great. Stylus cleaners are super important as well. You just put a couple little dabs of the fluid on there, go from the back of the stylus, pull forward. That pulls all those little fuzz bunnies off that are making your record sound distorted or causing your tone arm to just slide across the record. I've seen it 100 times. You have to clean your stylus. Very, very, very important. And for those of you out there with a serious collection that have invested a good amount of money into your collection, into your stereo equipment, my recommendation is an ultrasonic cleaner. Over half the people that work at Skylabs have a Human Guru ultrasonic cleaner, and we all swear by them. I've done the wood glue, I've done the expensive vacuum cleaners. In my opinion, nothing beats an ultrasonic cleaner for really getting into the deep grooves of your record, getting them clean and getting them nice and quiet. Nothing wrong with a spin clean if you're wanting to stay within a budget. Spray and wipes are great too. They've been using these for 50 years. Spray the play field of the record, give it a wipe down, wait for it to dry, play your record. You can make this stuff yourself too. It's not difficult. There are a ton of recipes online to make your own record cleaner. That's actually where I got the formula for this one. It's only 3 ingredients. This is all part of the deal of listening to records. Super delicate, requires a lot of maintenance, expensive. What else do you want in a music format? It's perfect. And if you like this video, you should definitely watch this one.